Hi everyone, today we're talking about one of the most common questions we're getting right now, which is the media is saying there's tons of listings, inventory is rising, it's exploding across the country. Why can we not find the home of our dreams?
Yes, absolutely. So today we're going to break down the data for you guys. We're going to show you the truth behind all of this inventory that the media is reporting. We're going to talk about that on a national level. We're going to talk about that as it pertains to Florida as a whole. And then if you stick around to the end, we're going to break that down on a local level for you.
Exactly. And if you find this video valuable, please hit that like button, that subscribe button, and we'd be very appreciative if you would share it with somebody that would also find it valuable. What's happening on a national level with inventory? What's the headlines that everybody's seeing?
Yeah, so people are seeing headlines. We're getting all these phone calls saying, you know, what's up with the inventory? Show me the inventory, right? The headlines, the media is reporting that U.S. foreclosure filings have surged 115% in 2022 and that they're up. They're through the roof, all of these foreclosures, which gives buyers the indication that they can find property right now, that there's a lot to choose from, and that it all might be pretty dirt cheap.
Yeah, that's it. And so if you look at all that stuff, it's pretty scary, right?
Well, it's misleading.
It is very misleading. So let's look at what's actually happening on a national level with listing inventory. You can see that listings right now in 2023 nationally was 625,875 listings, and that is a big increase over 2022, which is what?
In 2022, there was 378,189 listings nationally. Listings were pretty much non-existent this time last year.
Right, but when you compare that to say 2017, when there was actually a normal market nationally, there were 1,154,377 listings, and that's almost double of the 625,000 listings that we have today, correct?
Right. What that means, guys, is that we're about halfway to where we need to be in a normal, healthy marketplace with a normal amount of inventory. So while we are up over what we've been last year, we're still not back up to par as to where we need to be to have a healthy market.
Exactly. And so if you took all the numbers across all the states and you added them together, you could see that the national average of listings actually went up by 65.5%.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But in Florida, we went up by how much?
120.6%.
120% increase, right? And what you're going to see is by looking at this map here, and why we want to show you this is the states that had the least amount of listings during the pandemic or the last few years, the states that were hit hardest by things like migration, like Florida, for instance. So we had the least amount of listings during that time, and that's why we're seeing our listing inventory explode by 120%, right?
For sure. So this time last year, we had 1,000 people a day move into Florida. So we were one of the lowest amounts of inventory in the nation. So of course, anything compared to that is going to look like a huge surge over what we had last year. Now, why don't we back up just a little bit and talk about how all of this frenzy kind of got started. So
yeah, why are people moving to the states like Florida, Tennessee, Texas?
Yeah, so when things got so locked down during the pandemic, people started looking at their living situation in a very different way, guys. Like, if they couldn't go to work in an office, and so they had to make space in their home to work from home. They had to start entertaining differently, entertaining in their home instead of going out for entertainment. A lot of people also had to start homeschooling their kids. So people realized very quickly, with the world shutting down around them, that they had to really maximize their living situations which forced a lot of people to move up to that next step of home and caused a lot of fear, widespread fear. And so it pushed people to move, and we did not have enough new listings coming on the market to support that kind of buyer demand.
Exactly. And also, buyers' own words, we hear a lot people say, well, we want to be in a more free state. We don't want to be locked down anymore, right?
Right. So Florida was so appealing because our shutdown lasted less than a month, whereas other states were shut down for years. And so everybody, we kept hearing that people want to come to the land of the free.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what's happening nationally. And now let's dive into a little bit more local and tell people what's happening here, because Florida, like we said, had a 120% increase in listings. But how many more listings have we had here in, let's say, Southwest Florida? So let's break it down there. And so the first thing I want to show you is what's happening in the Florida Gulf Coast MLS, which covers what areas?
So that covers from Cape Coral all the way down through Marco Island and each area in between, guys. And if we are we going to look at January this year as opposed to January last year, right?
Yes, exactly. Let's start there. So if you look at the MLS as a whole, right now, this is single family homes. The single family homes was at 6,317 listings.
For January of 23.
Right, January of 23, exactly. And if you compare that to January of last year, 2022, there were 4,261 listings, which represents a 48.3% increase. That's pretty huge.
So that looks great when you look at that just on the surface, right? But when we go back and we compare that to what a normal market looks like for us.
A normal market, let's say at its peak in February of 2019.
So the year before the pandemic was a normal, healthy, thriving market in Florida.
I think most people would agree, right?
Yes.
And so if you look at that, we say February 2019 as an example, there was 12,604 listings at that time. So almost just a hair under double.
Right. So we're sitting at half of the listings that we had in January of 2019. So we're halfway to being back to what we know and consider to be a healthy, normal marketplace here in Southwest Florida.
Right. So hopefully you're finding value in this, guys. And if you are, please like and subscribe. But this is the answer. This is a small part of that answer to that question that we are answering from the beginning of the video, and that is, where are all the listings? Well, we're about half, just like she said. So
right.
This is for the whole MLS. Now let's dive down a little bit, because there's people sitting in Cape Coral, there's people sitting in Fort Myers, Naples, whatever. Let's just take like Cape Coral and Fort Myers as an example and go from there. So like if we look at the Cape Coral market listings, what's happened there? Well, currently single family homes, there's 1,518 listings as of January, the latest numbers. And if you compare that to January of 2022, there was 1,112 listings, right?
Right.
Which represents a
36.5% increase. So if you just look at that again on the surface and you think, wow, listings have gone up 36.5%. That's pretty impressive, right? We should have plenty of homes to choose from. But if you go back and you compare that to the same time period in 2019,
go back to the peak March of 2019, it was 2,916 listings. So almost double again.
Right.
That's what we should have.
So in the Cape Coral market, we are sitting at about half the amount of listings that we had prior to the pandemic.
So now we look at Fort Myers. There, in January, there was 749 listings, and that's about 30% increase from January of last year, which was 577. But if you compare that to the peak, there was 2,000 listings. So we're like
well under half there.
Yes, exactly. Let's go a little bit further north and look at what we call the Stellar MLS, which covers what area?
Yeah, so if you're interested in property in the Stellar MLS area, guys, that covers from Punta Gorda all the way up through the greater Tampa marketplace.
And if we look
And
at
so Sarasota, yeah.
And so if we look at the Tampa market, right now, or as of January of 2023, there was 1,623 listings, which is a 187% increase.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Over January of 2022. But in January of 2022, we had 564 listings. But if you compare that to the peak, there was 2,938 listings. So we need about 3,000 listings total, and we're sitting at 1,623.
Right, so just a little over halfway.
And so if we compare that to one more, let's look at Sarasota as an example. In Sarasota in January, there were 1,205 listings, which is a 212% increase from January of 2022. But if you want to know what a healthy market in Sarasota looks like, that would be about the peak in February 2019. We had 3,190 listings. We're sitting at 1,200. So we are way below, again, what we need to be in order to have what we consider a healthy market.
We're less than half in Sarasota, yeah.
So even though we've had people migrating down here in massive numbers, and we still do, I think it has slowed a little bit, and that's primarily because of interest rates. So that's why we're seeing a little bit rise in inventory. But what's going to happen for the rest of the year? We still think that if interest rates stay around that 6% mark, that we're still going to see an influx of people still moving here, still trying to find a way to get to Florida, which is going to keep the demand, and it's going to keep prices either flat or go up a little bit. We don't expect big increases in our real estate market, but we do expect prices to keep climbing, and that's what we're seeing, right?
We are seeing that, guys. And look, if you're interested in the Fort Myers market in particular, there are a lot of things happening down on Fort Myers Beach. I just want to add in that all of those properties on the beach are getting bought up by big developers with deep pockets, and word is already out on the street that this place is going to turn into, you know, basically a wealthy person's playground. So if you're waiting for prices to fall down drastically or interest rates to fall down drastically, it's just not going to happen. Right now is the time to invest before prices go up even more.
Exactly. And if you are worried about interest rates because you are perhaps getting a mortgage, we can show you how to do a buy down and have the seller buy down the interest rate and get you a lower payment, at least for a period of time. So that's always an option, and that's something that we're doing to help people get into a home. And if you are thinking about selling your home, now is the time, because homes are still moving. We still need inventory as of right now, and sellers are still getting top dollar, still getting a lot of their equity cashed out so that they can move on to that next step, right?
Yes, and even though things have slowed, homes that are in good condition and priced correctly are moving. They're not staying on the market.
If you'd like to know what your home is worth, we're going to put a link in the description here so that you can click on that, and it's one of the best systems, I promise, in the country. If you click on it and put in your address, it's going to give you some scary accurate data on your home and tell you what your home is worth or give you an estimate. But if you feel like that's not accurate enough, you can always reach out to Lona and I. We're happy to do a free home estimate for you, and there's no pressure at any time. And so that's one option. And if you're looking for a home,
yeah, for buyers, if you're looking in any of these markets, that website is also for you. It'll show you the latest and greatest of what's available right now. It does update from the Realtor MLS every 5 minutes. So you're always going to get the most updated information there.
As always, we hope you found it valuable. Please hit that like and subscribe button. And I'm Doug Lugers.
I'm Lona Lugers.
Thanks for watching.